Alright, what do you think, folks? I got all the pipes in. It's really only 4 runs. One of them was way back here behind the reservoir. That was put in place in part 1 of this little build series. And then I finished this bend right here, and this one leading from the graphics card to the top of the reservoir. So the fluid direction, because of the way this is oriented as a Primo Chill pump res combo here, the fluid's gonna be forced out the back. I know you can't really tell. Camera's not going to really do this justice, and it's so crammed in this case. There's not much room, but that's what I like. I like the fact that it's really compact, so everything's going to look filled up and used. So the fluid's going to enter the radiator up top from the reservoir, which is just a good conventional setup here, and then from the radiator down to the CPU block, and then from the CPU block to the graphics card, and then from the graphics card up to the reservoir again. Now, a few people were concerned about the fact that I only have a single 240 mil radiator in here. I understand where your concern's coming from. Most of the custom lube builds you see online are just overkill, over the top. They don't need, you know, 2 480 mil rads. A few were saying, well, why didn't you throw a 360 in here or a second 240 up front or something? But if you look at it on a component basis, this graphics card has a single 120 mil rad space, and the CPU has another 120 mil rad space. 240 is fine. We all know that you can pair a graphics card with an AIO and a single 120 mil rad, and it's going to stay perfectly cool. Granted, it is a separate system when they're broken apart like that, but even though we're including both into the same loop, temperatures will still be fine. We'll run tests and thermals after this video is up just to make sure that everything is stable. But this has been proven time and time again. I'm pretty sure Jay did a similar video, and they had a graphics card and a CPU and cooled it with a single 240 mil rad, and everything was just fine. So the next thing on our list, we're going to fill this puppy up with some coolant, some fluid. We're going to put a paper towel down here at the base in case anything leaks. Shouldn't be any leaks, so these fittings from Primo Chill are excellent. You got that super tight seal in here with a single O-ring, which is pretty incredible, and they look great in white. The only thing that's not from Primo Chill that's custom loop friendly in this case is, of course, the Fantex graphics card block and the Thermaltake CPU block. Now, I'm not going to tell you what color coolant I'm putting in here. You're going to have to just watch the video, or if you skip ahead, shame on you. You're missing the tech porn. Speaking of which, here it goes. Alright, so a small little issue, not really small, we'll see how it turns out when the computer is actually benchmarked and stress test, but there are air pockets in this loop that are literally impossible to get out without dissecting each run and trying to fill the fluid in each of those runs, because I can't get these pockets of air into the reservoir, and that's where I'm filling the loop, is from the reservoir. The reason why this is happening is because the radiator is up top here, and there's a huge pocket of air in here that's very difficult to get rid of. I've tried rotating the case, making the reservoir the highest point in the case, I've rotated it probably 50 or so times, just trying to get these pockets circulated through the graphics card block, CPU block, and into the reservoir. But then every time I do that, because there's a port on the back of the reservoir, air pockets just move right back up into the radiator. So no matter how hard I try to get these into the reservoir will just have pockets of air leak into the radiator. So we're gonna see how this turns out with temperatures. For now though, it is a finished loop with the exception of those air pockets. And the cool thing is when you turn the PC on, despite there being air pockets, which will be creating thermal issues for sure, you can actually see the fluid moving, which is pretty cool. All right, I've been running Heaven Benchmark here for a little bit, and 45 degrees Celsius at the core. Pretty sweet. So that means that the little air bubbles in here circulating through the loop aren't detrimental to any major extent. I am perfectly fine with 45 degrees Celsius. Now, as for the CPU, the temperatures here are reported at 68 degrees Celsius. Now, this is not under load, by the way, so you can see usage here is, it's around 50% or so for maybe half the cores. Half of them are turned off. Do I have, oh, I must have SMT disabled. That's weird. Anyway, so 69 degrees Celsius. Now remember, this is a 20 degree offset. So AMD did this purposely with the 1700X and the 1800X. So this is actually a 49 degrees Celsius temperature. It's just being offset by 20 degrees because AMD is AMD. Well, here you go. It's all hooked up and it looks like it's running fine. I've stress tested it for about an hour or so, and the GPU and CPU got up to about, I think the GPU got to 55 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good after an hour, and the CPU got to, I think, 80, and that's with a 3.8 gigahertz overclock. Modest voltage, nothing too optimal. I just did the basic settings in the BIOS. Speaking of which, this Taichi X370 board from ASRock has a beautiful BIOS. The updates are consistently rolling out for Ryzen, and that's why I like this board so much, and that's why I recommend it to anybody looking to build a Ryzen PC. The Taichi X370 from ASRock is one of the best overclocking and just RAM support boards out there for Ryzen. Also, if you're wondering, the RAM colors, they're doing the whole rainbow effect right now. I haven't changed those yet, but G.Skill has software that I've showcased before that we can use to have this alternate between, say, red and white, which is the theme going on in here. So all in all, I'm very satisfied with the build. I'm glad that the graphics card is no longer sagging at its vertical position right now, and the fluid is, I'll be honest, it's not as red as I would have liked for it to be. It's actually a bit more pinkish than it is red, only because of the air pockets in there. So if you just look at the fluid when it's stagnant, it's a very deep red, but when the air bubbles get moving through the loop, it does turn a bit lighter. If you'd like to see some benchmarks of this build, maybe in the future, run some temperature tests, we'll run some stress tests, see how this thing fares with only a 240mm rad, which many of you were concerned about in part 1. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video or maybe like the build, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Subscribe for more content like this, and also let me know in the comments what you think I should name this beautiful machine. I'm gonna call it beautiful because I really do think that it looks good. I think it's one of my best custom loop builds to date, not only because well, it's got a red and white theme, which can't go wrong with red and white, but also because of the few, just modest mods I've done here with the graphics card and orienting the components in the case in such a way that you didn't have to really do anything with the basement, which is cool. I don't like having a big old hole in the basement for the pump and whatnot. It just looks, I don't know, just a bit more ugly. That's just me. For the list of parts used in this PC, you can check out the video description. Some of those links are tied to my Amazon affiliate account, which does give me a small kickback. That's a punchback, a kickback. I'm kicking, but you can't see it. Just a small chunk of change that I usually recycle back into the channel, buy more PC parts and stuff like that to show off cool things, maybe buy some really interesting tech that you wouldn't think to buy, but that, what the heck, for science, right? And then if you see Newegg links, those are not tied to any affiliate account of any sort. I actually don't like Newegg's affiliate program because they don't have their own proprietary program. They actually use CJ and a few others that just are terrible. They're just terrible compared to Amazon's affiliate program. So good on you, Amazon, even though they're a bit picky about where you put links and how you do it and this and that. Those small kickbacks do go a long way for me. This is Science Studio. I hope you enjoyed the PC build. Thanks for building with us.